Today's topic is there a way to take it with you? Can you take it with you?
Where am I going?
Okay. It's one paper with two sides. Can you bring me back the rest? Thank you. Is there a way to take it with you? Jack Benny said, if I can't take it with me, I'm not going. But he went anyway, right, Yehuda? He went anyway. You take a couple? Thank you. He went anyway. There's a famous story about Mr. Reichman, the multi-millionaire Torah Shomer Mitzvahs who lived in Canada, that on his deathbed he told his children, he told them two things. He gave them an envelope and says, don't open up the envelope until after my funeral. And he told them that when he dies, he wants to be buried in his red socks. He had red socks that he wore only for Shabbos. It's a true story. So on his deathbed, he gave them a sealed envelope. Do not open it until after the funeral, and you must bury me with my Shabbos red socks. And then he died. So the kids told the Chevra Kadisha this. They said, what are you talking about? A dead person is not allowed to be buried in socks. You put him on the kittel with the hood, right, and the short pants. But just like a Kohen doesn't wear anything on his feet, a dead person is dressed in Big Day Kuhuna. It's incredible. The shrouds resemble the Big Day Kuhuna, because now the person is going to serve the boss in the sky. So Kohanim are not allowed to wear anything on their feet. So a dead person can't be buried with socks on. But that's what my father wanted. They said, too bad, I'm sorry. It's against halacha. Your father should have known better. Because he was a Shomer Torah Mitzvah. So they buried him without the socks. They came home after the funeral, and the father commanded them to what? Open up the sealed envelope. And they said, you see, Kinderlach? You can't even take your socks with you. This is a true story. You see, Kinderlach, you can't even take your socks with you. What good is all the millions? You can't take it with you. But Chava, I'm going to show you today, perhaps there is a way that you can take it with you.
Maybe mention the Yiddish about the Kohen Gadol and the IDF and Big Day.
I wrote about that, so you can look that up in the column. Now, is there a way to take it with you? They say shrouds have no pockets, right, Rivka? The last time I checked, shrouds have no pockets. What? You can say two things. Two things.
A man asked to be buried with his fork.
With his fork. But a guy wanted to be buried with his Cadillac. It's a true story. They buried him with his Cadillac.
His fork, not Ford, fork.
Not the Cadillac. Yeah.
Why do you want to be buried?
With your fork.
He said because they say when you're at a meal, keep your fork, the best is yet to come.
Oh.
You want to dedicate the shiur to the
And this year is also dedicated, besides Eila Nishmas Tzvi Ben Chaim Pesach, Lahavla Ben Chaim L'Chaim, to Refuah Shalema, to Mikimia Bat Peshabela, Shem Shem Refuah Shalema B'Korav Mamash. Okay, is there a way to take it with you? Chava Bas Rivka Refuah Shalema.
It's Rivka's birthday today. Rivka Bat Nazir.
Rivka Bas Azira.
Hebrew birthday.
Now,
Rabbi?
no one goes to Olam Haba. Yeah.
That's real quickie.
Go ahead.
I just want to know, because when you first said about the red socks, I really thought...
It's a true story. You can look it up.
I understand, but I thought you were going to say that he really loved the Boston Red Sox. I thought that's where you were going.
No one goes to Olam Haba regretting that he did not spend more time in the office. Anybody like that? Rabbi Yaakov? Gee, I wish I would have spent more time in the store or in the office. The Pele Yoetz, one of the great Mekubalim, says, isn't it a shame? Most of the day we are involved in secular pursuits. Isn't it tragic? What a shame. Most of the time we're engaged in mundane matters. Material matters. That stays behind. you take with you only what? Mitzvos and Maasim Tovim. But what about the rest of the day? Most of the day we're not occupied in Mitzvos and Maasim Tovim, so we think. So that's all gone forever. Is that true? It looks like it's true. But if you take a look at the Exodus, if you look at the sheet in front of you, you see something incredible. First of all, look at Pasuk Chav Hei. Vayomer Moshe. Moshe speaking to Paroi. See Pasuk Chav Hei. Vayomer Moshe. Gam ato. You too, Pharaoh. Titein b'yodeinu zvachim v'olot v'sil Hashem Elokeinu. Not only will we take our own cattle with us, but you, Ramesses II, will also give us what? Sacrifices and burnt offerings, and we will make it to Hashem our God. So the Ramban wonders, we need Pharaoh's burnt offerings? There's a pasuk in Mishlei, Zevach Rishoyim Toyeva. The sacrifices of the wicked are what? An abomination. So why is Moshe asking during the Exodus, Pharaoh, not only will take our own cattle, but you also will give us what? Animals to sacrifice to Hashem. We need Ramesses' animals to sacrifice to Hashem. What's the point? The point is that Paroi was the ultimate control freak. His country is collapsing all around him. The firstborn are dying. The country is in ruins. And he is still negotiating with Moshe Rabbeinu. He's negotiating with Moshe Rabbeinu. What are you negotiating about? Right? The ultimate control freak. So, to break his pride and arrogance, in order to do that, Moshe says, you also will, not that Moshe needed his what? His animals, but just to demonstrate you're no longer in control. God is in control. To break his pride and arrogance. God's the boss, not you, Paroi. But the pasuk that the Pele Yoetz, one of the great B'Kabbalim, zeroes in, that there is a way that you can take it with you. Look at pasuk Chavav very carefully, please. So let's read the simple explanation and see how difficult to understand. Remember, the Torah is forever. Right, Rose? The Torah is forever. Look, how do you read this pasuk? Chavav. V'gam mikneinu, this is Moshe speaking to Pharaoh. V'gam mikneinu yelech imanu. Not only will we leave Egypt, all of our cattle will go with us. Lo tishoya parsa. Not even one hoof will remain in Egypt. Ki mimenu nikach lavot as Hashem Elokeinu, because we need all of our animals in order to serve Hashem our God. V'anachtu lo neda, and we don't know ma navod et Hashem. We don't know how many animals it takes to serve God. Ad bayenu shama, until we get over there. Where's over there? Har Sinai, right? That's the push-up shot. Very difficult. We know the Torah is forever. We need to know what Moses said to Pharaoh 3,327 years ago. They're negotiating over cattle. Not even one hoof will remain. So what, Sonia? So he said it. Why do I need to know it for the year 2015 for? We know the Torah is not ancient history. The Torah is God's authorized manual for living. Ephraim, you have a paper. Ephraim, you have a paper. Yeah. So what's the point? Says the Pele Yoetz al pi Kabbalah. Look at Pasuk Chavav Yehuda carefully. The word mikneh in Hebrew doesn't mean cattle. The word mikneh doesn't mean cattle, even though the English says that. Mikneh means acquisitions. Ask any Ulpan teacher. Acquisitions, Chava. Ask Ulpan teacher.
Our property, right?
Our acquisitions. Look at Pasuk Chavav. Shirley.
I didn't hear.
What we acquired during...
Look at Pasuk Chavav carefully, Shirley. V'gam mikneinu yelech imanu. All of our acquisitions will also go along with us. Where? Where? That's a push-up shot. But the deeper meaning is to Olam Haba. To Olam Haba. Ooh. V'gam mikneinu yelech imanu. Comma. There is a way where our acquisitions, our stocks and bonds, Yelech imanu, even though the shrouds have no pockets. How do we do that? Look at the pasuk the way Pele Yoetz explains it. Lo tishaer, leave alone the lows. I'm reading pasuk Chavav. I'm talking it out. V'gam mikneinu yelech imanu, kama. There is a way where our acquisitions can go along. How? Lo tishaer, leave along the lows. What does lo mean? No. Negatives. Don't transgress any of the negative commandments. Next, parsa. What does the word parsa mean? The word parsa means hoof, but pahus in Hebrew means what? Sliced. He says the word parsa is an acronym. NYPD, you're not looking in, LAX. Paras hey. Split up your busy day into 5 easy pieces. Remember that movie by Jack Nicholson? I'm dating myself. Rivka. 5 easy pieces. The word parsa, says Pele Yoetz, is an acronym. FBI, parus hey. Split up. Parus means to split. Split up your busy day at the office or in the store into 5 easy pieces. That means you're busy at the store or in the executive boardroom. Split up, take a time out 5 times a day for God. That's easy to do. Shachris, Mincha, and Arvis. That's already 3 times. You study a little in the morning, a little in the evening, a little in the morning before Wall Street opens, and at night when Wall Street is closed. So parus hey, split up your busy day in 5 easy pieces. You separate from Kodesh Baruch Hu. 3 times tefillah, which you got to do anyway. Learn a little in the AM, a little in the PM. Parus hey, kama. Ki mimenu nikach lavat Hashem Elokeinu, because it we will take to serve Hashem our God. V'anachnu lo neida, Rabbi Yaakov, you have that? And we don't know ma navod es Hashem. We don't know what's more important to serve God. The guy who studies all day, sits in the kollel all day, or the guy that's involved in the secular mundane world and takes parus hey. He time out 5 easy pieces for God. We don't know what's more important. Ad boyenu shama. Until we what? Get over there, over there.
This is probably why the Arabs pray 5 times a day.
Ooh. The Pele Yoetz was a great Mikubal. He lived about 250 years ago. Otherwise, what is the pasuk talking about? I need to know what Pharaoh's negotiating with Ramesses over a cow. What's it all about? It's not Pharaoh. That's the patsy. It's for us. I'm reading the verse again. Chavav v'gam likneinu yelech imanu. There is a way where our acquisitions can come along with us. Yes. Wow. A person that works hard, working 9 to 5, you got to make a living, to support your family, earns the money to do chesed, and chesed begins where? Charity begins at home. Who said that? The Torah. Charity begins at home. You do a chesed for your family, and you have in mind you're working hard to serve God, then v'anachnu lo neda. Look at the verse again. We don't know. Ma navoid et Hashem ad boyeni shama. A person works all day, but he's focused on to invite guests for Shabbos, you need money. To send your kids to a good yeshiva, you need money. So why am I working 9 to 5? I got to make a living. To show off to the Schwartzes? Or to be able to do chesed? No money, no honey. Who said that? We have no idea who's greater in God's eyes until we get there. There's a Mishnah, Masechta Avot, Yofa Talmud Torah im derech eretz. Studying Torah is beautiful when it's combined with what? Work. What does derech eretz mean? Working 9 to 5. Some people forget that Mishnah. Yofa Talmud Torah im derech eretz. Torah study is beautiful when it's combined with what? Working for a living. Wow. The Mishnah says, V'chol ma'asecha yil Hashem shamayim. The Mishnah says, Rabbi Yaakov, let all of your deeds be for the sake of heaven. Whatever you do, not just when you're studying Torah, all day long, a person can be occupied what looks like mundane matters, but actually what? L'shem Shemayim. Therefore, the Rambam tells us, why does the Torah spend so many psukim telling us, Chava, about Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, what kind of great wheeler dealers they were? Look at the first Parshas in Bereshis. It's all about Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, how they are amassing wealth. Why does the Torah tell me that for? Why? The Torah is a book of laws. Why, please, why spend so many psukim? There's exactly 304,805 letters on Torah Scroll Malka, no extra letter. So why spend so many psukim telling us that Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov were great businessmen? Remember Ben Cartwright, the Ponderosa, all the land and their cattle. He was Jewish, by the way, Ben Cartwright. Why tell us that the Avos had so much cattle, so much acquisitions? Why tell me about it, says Rambam. What's it all about? The Rambam Mor Nevuchim asked that question in the book of Genesis, Mor Nevuchim. So he quotes the Mishnah, V'chol ma'asecha yeh l'shem shamayim. Even when the Avos were involved in what? Wheeling, dealing, acquisitions and mergers, what was their focus on? L'shem shamayim, all for the boss. Says the Rambam, then even the mundane work becomes part of Ruchnius. You are where your mind is, not where your bodysuit is. You hear? I think it's called mind over matter. Wow. Where your mind is. So when Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov were involved in their mergers and acquisitions, they were serving God because Avram was a great chesed man. No money, no honey. How could Avram do all that chesed if he was what? If I was a rich man. If he wasn't, how could he support so many yeshivas and so many what? Open house Shabbos tables. It takes money. So when Avram was involved in his mundane pursuits, he was serving God. Why, Yehuda? All for the boss. Not to show off, not to impress the Joneses. But you need assets in order to what? To serve God properly. There's a pasuk in Tehillim, Peites Olam Chesed Yiboneh. Why did God build the world? That people should do chesed one for the other. But to do chesed, Chava, it takes what? Right. Shkalim. No money, no chesed. So when Abraham and Yitzchak and Yaakov were involved in their, what's the word, mundane, menial pursuits, they were serving God. Therefore, the Torah records what? All of their wheeling and dealings. Because preparing for a mitzvah becomes part of the mitzvah. And I'll prove it to you.
How do you pay for the kibbutz?
Huh?
How do you pay for the kibbutz?
Aramea shekel kesef. Wow, that was a huge amount in those days. An average, look at the Code of Hammurabi. Abraham was a contemporary. Hammurabi, an average worker made 3 shekels a year. Chavi, look it up, Code of Hammurabi, a contemporary of Abraham. So if an average worker made 3 shekels a year, 3 shekels a year, and Avram paid 400 shekels. So how many years' wages was that? Who's good in math? 133 years' wages. Right, and a third. So Avram was a wealthy man. So the point is, says Rambam Mor Nevuchim, when you're engaged in menial pursuits, but you keep your eye on the prize, what's the end game? Serving Hashem, then even those mundane pursuits become part of the mitzvah.
Rabbi?
And I'll prove it to you. Says the Meiri, I'll prove it to you that this is correct. The Talmud tells us in the Masechta Yuma and the Masechta Brochot, anyone that eats on Erev Yom Kippur gets credit for fasting 2 days. Why should that be? You manja on Erev Yom Kippur, it's like you fasted 2 days. Why should that be? Says the Meiri, one of the great Mishonim, the Avodah of Yom Kippur is to do tshuva, to keep your eye on God and tshuva, cheshbon hanefesh. If you're hungry, your mind will be on the cheese blintzes or the macaroni and cheese. It won't be on tshuva. So therefore, the Meiri says, in order to properly prepare for Yom Kippur, which is tshuva, cheshbon hanefesh, you have to have a full stomach. Otherwise, your mind won't be on the tshuva. It'll be on what?
Eating.
On the manja. So therefore, preparing for a mitzvah becomes a mitzvah. So therefore, eating and drinking Erev Yom Kippur prepares me for the mitzvah of Yom Kippur. So the preparation for a mitzvah becomes part of the mitzvah. Wow.
It's not only
Wow.
about people who volunteer in the house.
Exactly. Let me get to the punchline over here. So a person prepares and he acquires wealth because he wants the wealth to do more chesed. So the Mishnah says in Masechta Avot Perik Bet, V'chol ma'asecha l'shem shamayim. And therefore the Rambam again says why the Torah goes into such detailed account about the business dealings of the Avot. What's the message for us? That if you're doing the acquisitions and acquiring wealth to serve God better, more assets, more chesed, then even the mundane pursuits, you can take it with you. All those hours I spent in the store or in the boardroom, after 120 years, I get up there and I studied an hour at night, right? So God will say, you studied 12 hours today, but I only studied 1 hour. God says, don't argue with me. You studied 12 hours. Oh, you studied 1 hour. 10 hours I was what? In the store. But God will give me credit. Why was I in the store? I need money to pay my child's schar limud, to support the Rabbi and to support the Asper Yeshiva. So all of those hours in the office, God will what? Tack it on to my mitzvah scale. Chava, isn't that incredible? The more assets, the more mitzvahs, right? And the Chassam Sofer says something incredible. Why do you put tefillin on the left hand, not the right hand? Why do you put tefillin on the left hand? Said the Chassam Sofer, because the right hand has to be free, working 9 to 5, got to make a living. Most people are right-handed. Says the Chassam Sofer, he was a Haredi rabbi. The right hand has to be free in order to work. So therefore, where do you put your tefillin? On the left hand. So all of life, even of the mundane, can be elevated in order to what? To do a mitzvah. We say it in the Shema. V'afta Hashem Elokecha b'chol levavcha. You shall serve God b'chol levavcha. What does b'chol levavcha mean? With all of your hearts. It says, doesn't say libach, ask Upan teacher. It says b'chol levavcha. So Rashi is wondering, should have said b'chol libach. Hakman says in the Shema, serve God b'chol levavcha. Says Rashi, b'shnei yitzrecha. With your both hearts, your Yetzer Tov heart and your Yetzer Hara. Even the Yetzer Hara can be deputized, elevated to serve the boss. Isn't that incredible? Therefore, something very strange. How do you say friend in Hebrew? Ain't it good to know? Reah. In biblical Hebrew, it's Reah. Reish Ayin. How do you say evil in Hebrew? Ra. How could it be? There are no dots in a Torah scroll. The same word for friend, Reah, Reish Ayin, is the same word for Ra. Chava, how could that be, Malka? How could it be? In classical Hebrew, even today, and especially biblical Hebrew, chaver is the... but the higher class of Hebrew, friend, is v'hafta re'acho kamocha. Ain't it good to know you got a friend? Is Reah, Reish Ayin. And evil is also Reish Ayin. So how could the word... wife is your best friend. Oh, right? Haftar Yachol Kamocha. So how could the word for friend and the word for evil be the same word, Sonia? So the answer in the tafkid of a yid is to take the evil impulse and make him your friend. Take the evil impulse. Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of man? Shadow knows. Take the evil and elevate him, transform him, deputize him. Person has an evil impulse. He loves money, to acquire money. Show me the money, Jerry. That's evil, right? No. Take that impulse. The more money, the more chesed. The more money, the more achnosas orchim. You're taking the evil impulse and you're what? You're making him your friend. A person has an evil impulse. He loves honor and respect. He loves kavod. Very bad, right? No, give a large check to the Asper Yeshiva. We'll give you a dinner, a huge plaque. You'll get all the kavod that you want. And you're making the evil into what? A friend.
Not true.
Yes, it is true.
It's not true.
Okay.
Cannot be.
You take the evil impulse and you elevate it even for kavod, for honor. You want honor, you give a nice donation to a yeshiva or a good institution. They'll give you a big dinner, sit you on the dais. So that's taking the ra and making it what? Your reya.
No,
It's
not kosher. It's not kosher.
yes, it is. Anyway, the Torah goes on and tells us wherever the Torah mentions Shabbat, it's never meant. The Torah mentions Shabbat many times in the Chumash. It never just says so and you keep the Shabbat. It always says Sheishes Yomim Ta'avod Uvayom Hashvi Tishbot. Wherever it mentions Shabbat in the Torah, every single time, it's always prefaced by work 6 days, keep the Shabbos. So the Mechilta asked the question, how come it can never say just keep Shabbos? How come wherever Shabbos is mentioned in the Torah, Reb Ruvain, it's always prefaced by what? Sheishes Yomim Ta'avod Uvayom Hashvi Tishbot. So the Mechilta says, Kamo sheyesh mitzvah Shabbat, Gam yesh mitzvah lavod b'chol. The reason why observing Shabbos is never written alone, it's always preceded by working 6 days, says the Mechilta, Haredi rabbis, Mechilta, Talmid of Rabbi Akiva, that what? That just like there's a mitzvah to observe Shabbat, there's also a mitzvah to what? Work during the 6 days.
But what does it mean, the word after Shabbos?
It says, Sheishes Yomim Ta'avod, Ubeyoyim Hashvi Tishbot.
What does Tishbot mean?
Rest. So why can't Shabbos just be written alone? How come Shabbos is always prefaced with 6 days you shall work and observe Shabbat? So the Mechilta comments, just like there's a mitzvah to observe Shabbat, Yehuda, there's also a mitzvah to what? Work. Wow, isn't that amazing? Some people forget that. You had a question, Reuven, I think.
Yeah, but it's on what you're talking about the whole time.
Go ahead.
So you said about preparing. You've been saying preparing, because by doing the work, by doing the right thing, you're preparing.
Keep
for
your
the
mind on the
But-
prize.
right, but-
What am I focused on? What's the end game?
So is this something related to the Pirkei Avot that says you must prepare in the Prose Bowl and with a corridor to get into the festival hall?
Beautiful. The Mishnah says, "Olam hazeh doimna leprozdor." The Mishnah Avos chapter 4, Ruvain, thank you for reminding me, says this world is compared to a lobby. Hasken asacho beprozdor, prepare yourself in the lobby, kidei shetekonis latraklin, in order that you should what? Enter the palace. How do you prepare yourself in the lobby? You're busy working to support a family. Are you wasting your time? No, because your mind is focused on the traklin. Even though you're in the lobby, but where is your mind? In the traklin. So therefore, even the mundane, secular pursuits in the lobby, also you take with you, Rabbi Yaakov, to the traklin. What's the traklin? The banquet. So even though shrouds have no pockets, the last time I checked, there is a way to take it with you. Shrouds have no pockets. Huh? So you are where your mind is. And I'll prove it to you, Chava. The Rambam rules that a woman, a nida, who went to the mikveh, but she thinks she's in a Jack LaLanne, remember Jack LaLanne? Jacuzzi. She went to a mikveh, but she thinks she's in a jacuzzi, remains the same state of impurity as if she never immersed, even though she's all wet. Get it? Even though she's all wet. But why? She dunked in a mikveh. But in her mind, she was in a jacuzzi. The Rambam rules when she comes out of the mikveh, even though she's all wet, she's all wet. Get it? She's all wet. She's the same state of impurity as when she entered. But why should that be, Yehuda?
Because mitzvah tzrichas kavana means.
So, because mitzvah tzrichas kavana, you are where your mind is. And therefore, the Chachamim came up with the Birchat HaMitzvah. Why did the rabbis invent Chava, a Birchat HaMitzvah? Before a lady goes in a mikvah, she makes a bracha. Before I put on tefillin, I make a bracha. Before I shake a lulav and esrik, I make a bracha. Why? Because the bracha surely forces me to have kavanah. The lady makes a bracha, she knows she's not in a jacuzzi. So the bracha that the rabbis came up with was very necessary and important. It gives me kavanah. Otherwise, what am I doing? Swimming pool. Wow. The first question that a person is asked, Abraham, after 120, Talmud and Shabbos says, Nosata be'emunah. Nosata be'emunah. Did you conduct your business affairs be'emunah? Why is that the first question, Rose, that we're going to be asked after 120? I would think of many other questions. Talmud and Shabbos says the first question that God asks us after 120, Nosata be'emunah. Were you honest in your business dealings? Is that what it means? I want to give it a different interpretation. God is asking you, did you take it with you? Nosata be'emunah. When you were involved in your mundane business affairs, did you do it be'emunah? What does be'emunah mean? What does the word emunah mean? Did you believe that you're able to take it with you? You hear? I'm putting a different interpretation, Chava. Oh, good thing you're here today. Good thing you're here today. I'm claiming when the Talmud in Shabbos 31 says that the first question you're asked is Nosata be'emunah, so the normal interpretation is, did you conduct your business affairs faithfully? But I want to give it another interpretation. Nosata be'emunah. Did you believe that your worldly, mundane business affairs you're able to take with you?
No, we never knew this.
It's a good thing you came today. Aren't you glad?
Oh, but you do it anyway.
Nosata be'emunah. Did you believe? You gotta believe. Who said that? You gotta believe that even your mundane business affairs can be taken with you. Did you do that? I think that's what the boss is going to ask us. Rabbi Abraham, what do you think?
Sounds good to me, Rob.
Isn't it a shame? You know anybody that leaves this world saying, gee, I wish I would have spent more time in the store.
Or with their credit card.
Gee, I wish I would have spent more time in the office. You know anybody like that, Sharona? They tell a famous story about a rich Parsi who was dying. He had many, many stores, and he's on his deathbed. And all the kids are surrounding the deathbed. And he's mumbling his last words. And he's saying, me, 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 me. A rich businessman, he had a big store. And he's mumbling. So one of the sons puts his ear to his papa's last words. He says, mi b'chanut. All your kids are surrounding the deathbed. Mi b'chanut. Who's minding the store? Don't you get it, Sharona?
We get it.
Mi b'chanut. Nebuch. You know anybody like that? You all kids are surrounding my deathbed. Who's minding the store?
Oh, who's minding this?
You know nobody like that? I see you're a little skeptical, Rabbi Avram. I see you're a little skeptical. What I'm saying is actually a Rashi in Parshas Emor. Okay? I'll prove it to you. What? Oh. V'chol ma'asecha yil shem shamayim. That's a pasuk in Mishlei. Beautiful. So on that pasuk, the Mishnah says in Avod, v'chol ma'asecha yil shem shamayim. Even when you're in the store, keep your eye on the prize. Stay focused. Stay focused on the end game. And then even those mergers and acquisitions can also be what?
You're right.
Take it with you. I see you a little skeptical. I understand. I'll show you a Rashi, Evelyn, that I'm right. So you're not going to argue with me, Evelyn, you're going to argue with Rashi. You don't have it on your sheets, but you get home, you cook it up. This is Rashi in Parshas Emor, chapter 23. Rashi Parshas Emor Chav Gimel. Rashi wonders. We read this to the Sholosh Regolim. Parshas Emor. It's in chapter 23. The whole chapter there. It deals with the Chagim. We're going to read it on Pesach. There, the Torah lists all the Chagim. In the middle of the Chagim, there seems to be a subject from left field. So Rashi says, Ma ra hakatuv litna be'emtza haragolim. In the middle of the Chagim, this is read on Chalamot, chapter 23 Vayikra, the Torah lists all of the Chagim, but in the middle of the Chagim, like from left field, the Torah interrupts the Chagim with the parsha of Leket Shikhampeah. Seems from left field. Leket Shikhampeah. What's Leket Shikhampeah? Farmer Schwartz has to leave Leket Shikhampeah. Ma Kesher. In the middle of the Chagim. Psik. How do you say psik? Interruption. You stick in a parsha of Leket Shikhampeah, has nothing to do with the Chagim, and you go back to the Chagim. Very strange. We know when two psukim Rav Aaron and what Rabbi Abraham. What in the world of Leket Shikhampeah, Farmer Schwartz got to do with all the Chagim and all of the Karbonot of the Chagim? Doesn't seem to belong. Says Rashi, fasten your seatbelts. I'm saying this. I'm saying what I said. Lamdecha shekol hanoten Leket Shikhampeah la'ani. Any farmer, any person that works the land, and he gives Leket Shikhampeah la'ani, he gives his what? His ma'aseh to the poor. Ki ilu bana bet hamikdash v'hikriv karbanosov shel chagim. You hear this? A simple farmer, Rabbi Abraham. A simple farmer. Can you imagine working the land? Why wasn't I born a Kohen? Why wasn't I born a Rosh Hashiva? Why? I'm a poor dirt farmer. The Kohanim in the Beis HaMikdash parading in their magnificent uniform, sacrificing on the Chagim to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in their magnificent robes. I'm a poor dirt farmer. What am I, chopped liver? Why wasn't I born a Kohen? Why wasn't I born a Rosh Hashiva? God says, forget about it. Even a garbage collector, even a dirt farmer, whatever you do, if you're honest in what you do, and you give proper truma, Leket Shikhampeah, in God's eyes, you're just as important as the Kohen Gadol in the Bet HaMikdash, offering all of the Karbanot on the Chagim. This is Rashi, not me, Abraham. Rashi. The poor farmer, I was born a dirt farmer. Why couldn't I be born a big kahuna? You know the story. A guy said, you got to make me a Kohen, right? He goes to Reform Rabbi. He says, Rabbi, here's a $10,000 check. You got to make me a Kohen. So the Reform Rabbi says, poof, you're a Kohen. But tell me, my son, why is it so important? He says, I'll tell you, Rabbi, my father was a Kohen, my grandfather was a Kohen, you gotta make me a Kohen. I wasn't born a Kohen, so I'm a nobody, Chava. God says no. You're a simple working man, but you give your Leket Shikhampeah, you give tzedakah like you have to, and you're honest in business. In God's eyes, Rashi says, Kilo bana bet hamikdash, like you built the temple, v'hikriv korban, and you brought all of the korbanot hachagim, even though you're not a kahuna, a big kahuna. Isn't that amazing? Rav Aryeh Levin, you heard of him, right? The great tzaddik, Rivka, you heard of Rabbi Levin? This story I heard from his grandson, so you know it's true. His grandson, Benji Levin. Rav Aryeh Levin had a Yiddish garbage collector on his street. A Jewish man would come and collect the garbage. He told him, I envy you. Rav Aryeh Levin told the garbage collector, I envy you. So the garbage collector says, Rabbi, are you making fun of me? You're the greatest tzaddik in the world. I'm a garbage collector. How can you envy me? He says, I envy you. Can you imagine what Moshe Rabbeinu would give to be able to clean the streets of Jerusalem? Would Moses not give his right arm to be in your shoes to clean the streets of Yerushalayim? I envy you, garbage collector. And the rabbi meant it. Otherwise he wouldn't have said it. To have the schus to sweep the streets of the holy city. Wow. Huh? So even a garbage collector, if he's honest, and he divides his day, Mickey, into 5 easy pieces, get it? Porus Hay, can reach the level of Rabbi Aryeh Levin. Who said it? Not me. Rabbi Aryeh Levin said it. No matter what you do in life, no matter how you're born on the wrong side of the tracks, that's a cop-out. Whatever you do, you can elevate yourself to reach the level of Aryeh Levin. Who said it? Rabbi Aryeh Levin, not me. The Mishnah says in the Masechta Avot, Perik Vav, Bishas Pitarosha Shel Adam, when a person dies, the Mishnah Masechta Avot, when a person dies, Ein Malavan Lo Adam, the person will not be escorted to the next world, Lo Keseh V'Lo Zahav. You can't take it with you. The Mishnah Avos, when a person dies, his stocks and bonds cannot go along with him. What goes along with him? Elo Torah u'masim tovim belvad. The only thing you can take along is what? Torah u'masim tovim. Isn't Torah enough? Why does the Mishnah have to add masim tovim? Every word of the Mishnah of a Berkowitz is Kodesh Kedoshim. The Mishnah should have said in chapter 6 in Avot, when a person dies, he can't take along his gold or silver. He can only take along Torah. Why does the Mishnah Yehuda have to add the word Masim Tovim Bolvad?
Because those are his choices.
What's the point, Malka? That any mundane act, any secular act can be transformed into what? Masim Tovim. Not mitzvah. The Mishnah doesn't say mitzvah because that's part of Torah. The Mishnah says the only thing you take along is Torah u'masim tovim. Torah means everything. What does masim tovim mean? Literally, what does it mean?
Good deeds.
Good deeds.
The good work.
Even
Good
in
works.
right, even working in the store. Even when you're attending a board meeting can be transformed and elevated to masim tovim. How? If your intention is not to impress the Schwartzes or the Joneses, not to take a cruise, your intention is what? The more assets, the more chesed. The more wealth, the more Shabbos guests. The more assets, the more you can help out the Yasper Yeshiva or any yeshiva. So any mundane act can become what? Masim Tovim. That's what the Mishnah means. So is there a way to take it with you?
Yes.
There definitely is.
Just to do the Masim Tovim, the Torah tells you.
But any act, I'm giving you here a chidush, Shirley, that any act that you do can be transformed, elevated, and deputized into what? Masim Tovim. I still see you're a little skeptical. I still see. I'll give you the clincher now.
It's not skeptic.
I'll give you the clincher. in Parshas Pinchas, the Torah lists the 3 types of korbanot that are acceptable on the Mizbeach. What's acceptable? Bakar. Bakar means what? Cows. Bakar. Ayil. Right? The ram. And kvasim. Sheep. So Rashi wonders, what's wrong with a turkey? A turkey is kosher, has less cholesterol. What's wrong with a turkey? What's wrong with a deer? Why does the Torah limit and restrict the korbanot to bakar, ayil, kvasim? So Rashi says, bakar ela bakar ratz Avraham. Bakar captures the Mesiras Nefesh, Yehuda. Remember, Avraham was sick the 3rd day after Brit Milah. He ran to the barn. He shechted the bakar to give his guest a hearty meal. Eze Mesiras Nefesh Nechama. 3rd day at Milah, sick. He ran to the barn to shecht bakar to feed his guests. To capture that Mesiras Nefesh of Avraham, therefore God says, bring me bakar, not a turkey. Why do you bring an ayil? Why not a turkey? Kedas Yitzchak, Eze Mesiras Nefesh of what? Of Avraham, right? Of Avraham. That's Avraham. Yitzchak. Mesiras Nefesh of Yitzchak. Yitzchak became the ayil of Hashem. He wanted to give Yitzchak as a korban, and in place of Yitzchak, he brought what? An ayil. So to capture that Mesiras Nefesh of Yitzchak Avinu, therefore we bring what? A ram, the ram of Isaac, and not a turkey. Why do we bring kvasim? So says Rashi, strange Rashi, because Yaakov Avinu was a wheeler dealer, and he had many kvasim. He had many sheep. So therefore, we bring sheep on the Mizbeach. You understand that? I don't. I can understand the Mesiras Nefesh of what? Of Ravinu. I can understand the Mesiras Nefesh of the Kedas Yitzchak. But just because Yaakov Avinu was a wheeler dealer and he had a great businessman with many sheep, that too deserves a korban on what? On the Mizbeach? What kind of Mesiras Nefesh was that? Oh.
It says he was changed, his wages were changed 10 times 10
Not only
times.
that, not only that, but he was exchanged Leah for Rachel. He was Mesiras Nefesh.
Just Rashi says because Yaakov possessed many sheep and he was a great businessman, so therefore we bring sheep on the Mizbeach, not a turkey. So I ask you, Sonia, I can understand Avraham Yitzchak. Just because he was a businessman with sheep, that Mesiras Nefesh for a korban?
That's what we've been talking about the whole time.
Beautiful. But more than that, my Rebbe Rapam Zatzal said, more than that. Who was he involved in business with? Lavan.
The biggest deception.
He was involved with Bernie Madoff. Madoff, he made off with a lot of money. Says my Rebbe Rapam Zatzal, if you are in business and you're surrounded by Bernie Madoff and Lavan, and you still remain honest despite the Lavans, that's considered Mesiras Nefesh on the same level of Akedat Yitzchak. You're dealing with swindlers, Lavan and Bernies, and there's a great temptation. What am I, a friar? They're all swindling. What am I, a nebish? And despite that temptation, you remain honest. That's considered Mesirat Nefesh on the level of Akedas Yitzchak. And that too deserves a korban on the Mizbeach. So yes, what Abraham said and what Rav Ruvain said. Yes. When Yaakov was acquiring all of his wealth, what was his purpose? To impress the Schwartzes? It takes a lot of money to support 12 kids in the kollel. He had 12 sons in the kollel. Takes a lot of money. So therefore, the mundane pursuits of Yaakov was also brought on what the Mizbeach, but my Rebbe Rapam gave extra kvetch. The temptation, you're involved with Lavan, and you remain honest. Im Lavan Garti, B'tay Yitzah Shamarti. That's considered Mesiras Nefesh, Chava, on a level of Akedas Yitzchak. Next Sunday, God willing.
You're teaching?
Next Sunday, of course. So what? Time out. Take a time out for God. 5 easy pieces next Sunday. Can you make it? Next Sunday there's a class. Thank you very much.